thing lean. Oh, go on, yes, sir. What is up? Welcome to Cutting Up. I am your host Mac, and you see the title of this video. Let's get straight into today's shave. This is going to be a little different from my recent content. We're just going to get into the techniques. If you see me looking forward today, that's because I have my 3-piece mirror here. I'll take it out and just show you guys what is ahead of me. I have a setup like this, which you can set up on a door, or this one is thick enough that if you have like a shower door set up with like a thick enough bar, you can put it in there. This is excellent for anything, like in the shower, if you're gonna do manscaping, if you're just doing your shave. Really good setup, allows you in the 3 pieces to be able to see the back of your head or the sides of your head at an angle that you would be turning your head usually and looking through the peripheral vision. This allows you to use your straight on vision on those areas and get those areas cleaner. Also, working with one of my new favorite things that I've gotten, which I now know as a badger knot, or you might just know it as a shave brush. If you watch a couple videos back, I built my best ever lather with one of these, so going forward I will be using this kind of thing. But the setup that I have at home for a shave is not very expensive, and you can get really good results in my opinion. This is going to be what I refer to as a maintenance shave. That's just my own personal term, where I'm just trying to maintain the last haircut. This also allows that if I made a mistake, or if I decided that I took my beard down too far, the maintenance shave is kind of the shave that you can do 2 to 3 days later and kind of start to begin to grow in those areas. So when we're talking about your line work, and for this is just means for me and a maintenance shave that I don't need my full setup and my hair hasn't grown all the way out. So let's get into the shave. Now I make sure that I start with pretty much whatever I'm shaving to be clean. I'm never going dry. I hate the idea of dry shaving. So at the very least, you want to have whatever you're about to shave at least moistened with water. And of course, ideally, you want to use some kind of substitute, if not shaving cream. Like for example, the ones that I've used in previous videos, I have used coconut oil. If you're doing a head shave, you do have to worry about it dripping down and it kind of moving. But once you get the glide with that, it's excellent. And the cleanup with that is very, very good. It's easy to wash in and out of your razor, for example, and you're not washing out for days hair out of your sink. No complaints from anyone. I use conditioner a lot of the time when I'm doing my shaves, just because it's kind of a 2-in-1. I kind of get to treat the scalp, moisturize the scalp, and I still have something to build a lather with. A benefit that I have also with conditioner is while it makes a lather, it makes a lather that's a little translucent. So if you're worried about line work, it's really good for that. What I find with like shaving cream is that sometimes the lather can be too good, where if I'm not gonna shave everything clean, like if I was cleaning off my beard, then no problem. I just streak the razor and wherever it goes, it's meant to be clean. But when I want precise line work, sometimes what happens if the lather is too thick, I can't see this. I won't be able to see where my lines are, and that kind of makes it where I have to kind of defeat the purpose of making such a thick lather by spraying it down or washing off some of it to be able to see where the line is and then using it quickly. Today we're going to be using shaving cream. What tools do I have? Alright, so I have 2 different straight line combs. These I use for my line work. Also, I'm going to have this. They have a couple of people that have made a competitor to this. This one in particular is the Cut Buddy. This is excellent for lining up under the neck and also for doing line work curves, and you can get as precise as looking at it in measurements. I use anatomical points on my face. My face isn't perfectly symmetrical, but it's good enough that the naked eye won't really see any flaws or changes from the left to the right, and that's pretty much all you need. Anyway, enough talking, let's get straight into the shave now. Let's build the lather. I have a container and I have the water running. I run it as hot as it's gonna get because I want a warm shaving cream. Now, if you've never used one of these before, obviously you can find tutorials on YouTube on how to use this. But what I've learned is you wet the bristles first on this before even building the lather. So I'm using a little bit more than what would be a nickel. I wouldn't say about a quarter size. You be the judge. That's how much I squeezed out. There's no water in here yet, and then I just kind of run it. You'll hear how long I run it for. Between that and the wet bristles of the brush itself. Now, am I gonna tell you there's some kind of science to which direction you want? I don't know. I'm left-handed, so I'm going in a left circular motion. I don't think there's any science to going in the other direction. Whatever is easier for you. And like I said, if you're using a good shaving cream right about now, you're already smelling that shaving cream. Just start it off like. Now I apply it in the same way that I build it. So I'm kind of still building it on my head right now. Because I just do little circular motions and cover the surface area. Now I could also apply it here, but because I'm not ready to shave that area, I'm not going to. I just feel like you're just wasting it and allowing it to run and do all this other stuff. Another thing you want to have close by is a towel. Now this towel is to keep your hand dry, because the enemy of a good shave is wet hands. It's fine if everything else is lubricated and wet and slippery, but what you need to be dry is this handle and your hand, so your hand doesn't make any motions that you don't want it to. The last thing you want to be doing is doing line work or getting somewhere close where it's somewhere sensitive and slip. You can actually look into previous videos and see me make that mistake. So don't do that. Make sure that your hand, whichever hand it is, which you're using left or right, whatever your dominant hand is or your favorite hand to shave with, make sure you keep your hand dry. So periodically, if you have to, it's going to happen. Your hands are going to moisten, your fingertips. You're going to get the handle wet. That's normal. Just make sure that you have something to clean it off with. Now, if this is your first time or first couple times shaving your head, it's going to be a little intimidating because you're always worried about the fact that if you've shaved before and you can't get through here without nicking yourself, that you're more than likely going to nick yourself here. So you're not gonna do some of these faster strokes that I'm going to use. I get away with that because my razor isn't brand new, and I've also built up the muscle memory of how much pressure to apply to be able to have a smooth shave. It's just gonna come with practice. Now, as you can see, I don't buy or subscribe to the whole idea of not shaving in the opposite direction of the hair growth. You have to see if that works with you. Some people, that causes razor bumps. The idea is that if you nick the hair this way, it goes underneath the scalp and then can potentially become an ingrown hair. I don't have that issue. What I tend to do to make sure that I don't end up with that kind of thing, besides the fact that I make sure that my razor is always clean before shaving, I clean it before shaving and after shaving. So even though after shaving I'm gonna clean this, right before using it again, I go in with some alcohol, and alcohol never touches my skin anymore. Alcohol is just for my razors and cleaning my instruments. I use, as far as my astringent, I use witch hazel or witch hazel toner, and I make sure that I clean the area afterward with that. And for me, that works. I don't get bumps. Depending on your skin sensitivity and just pure dumb luck and genetics, that makes you more sensitive. So play around with that. Make sure that you try out what works for you. And I'm not sure if you guys caught this, but what just happened a while ago is I just did one stroke on this side, and the second I felt that stroke while I lifted the razor away from my head is a subtle thing that I guess I've never had to articulate, so it's interesting doing these videos and explaining what happened. When you're shaving, I feel like you should never have to fight any resistance. So if I ever rub against here and I feel an irritation in a direction that I'm going, I don't continue to fight and go through it and try to finish that stroke. So if I'm going up, for example, like right now, like that, and I feel like something right here feels dry, or I feel like the razor is fighting with the hair to come off, I immediately lift the razor away from my head and give up on that stroke and either wet the razor or apply more shaving cream or something to that area to make sure that it doesn't feel like that again. You should never feel like you're scraping your head with the razor. It's always smooth. Another thing is, if you are not done, say I was to nick here and I have a little nick there but I still have to go around that, that's why I grab other tools. I will immediately just give up on that area, you know, put some pressure with a cotton bud or whatever you're gonna use, put some pressure on the spot to kind of stop the bleed. Make sure that you wet this or damp this with something cold. The cold is gonna stop it from bleeding. Heat is gonna keep it bleeding. And once I'm done with that area, I don't go back in that area. Whatever little patch of hair that's gonna be there, that's where I might go in with my electric razor and go into that area and clean it up the best I can. But the worst thing that you can do is to keep going over that same area and irritating it with the razor and potentially cutting it more, or potentially adding to that cut with another cut. Now in previous videos I've also shown you this technique. This is a blind shaving technique. It's a way that I can tell that my shave is clean without actually looking. Now it's great if you can get yourself one of these mirrors, but if you don't have that, a technique that I have figured out is, and I'll turn my back to the mirror altogether. The other hand is used to check how smooth the area is. And as I rub up here, I can feel the difference between a smooth shaped area, or in this case, this is my bald spot, but a smooth shaped area and where it needs to shave. And I just kind of run them back and forth. Now another set of eyes is obviously going to be the ideal thing. Once I'm done, if I can ask someone to take a look and make sure that it's worked. But this works very well, because what I end up doing is just going systematically, just slightly over, kind of rubbing the same area that I did, but rubbing my hand in that area right afterward. And that allows me to not only tell what is smooth to the touch, but what is smooth to the touch is normally gonna look smooth to the eye. Now, one or two times in this area I felt like I need some more reapplication of some more shaving cream. That could be just because I'm stopping and talking to you. I'm taking more time than I usually would. There it is. And that is so much different. Like I said, you should never feel any irritation or discomfort. If you do, immediately just lift the razor away from the area that you're shaving. Now, I can get away with shaving in pretty much any direction. The trick for me when I shave, whether it's going across or going up and down, is making sure that there's still strokes, kind of like how you would rake leaves. So it's gonna be one and lift, one and lift. You're never going back and forth while still on the skin. Definitely not side to side. Side to side will equal a slit or like a laceration. Now, if I'm speed shaving, which I never suggest to do, always give yourself ample time to shave, because you rushing is going to lead to you making mistakes. But when the razor isn't brand new, for me, I can get away with like going this speed and smaller strokes. But again, this comes with practice. And each time that you see me doing that, I'm not going back and forth. I'm raising it still. So I'm kind of, if there was huge like a rake, it's like you're going like this. I'm pulling up and slightly doing those small strokes. What I have found is when people say shave in one direction, that's what they mean. Like, I'll never really do this. I'm always gonna be, if I'm going across the top of my head, doing that for a couple of strokes, because that helps me, kind of like gamers, muscle memory. Your hand feels how much pressure to add and it just becomes natural. Now, for whatever reason, you might run into like skin folds, and those things can be difficult to shave. What I do is, again, with a non-dominant hand, I'll put my hand on that place firmly and pull the skin tight. And when I pull it tight, that allows me to get an even cleaner shave. Now, if you find that you can't shave against the grain in the opposite direction of the way it grows, that's fine. Rub in the opposite direction though, because that's what's going to be the true test of how smooth it is. If the hair is growing this way and you're rubbing this way, it'll feel smooth, but if you rub back this way, this will really tell you. So always, if you're using that rubbing technique, rub it in the opposite direction that the hair grows. Now, to be honest, this shave right now, just feeling this is clean enough for me to actually feel confident with going out with this. I don't feel like I need to do anything, but I do kick it up another notch with the electric afterward. I use in particular coconut oil. Not to say you have to use coconut oil. This is where maybe a conditioner or something like that, especially like a leave-in, would be great, because that's what I lubricate that with. You could use shaving cream again, but I feel like it gunks up the electric razor. So I use something thinner than that, something a lot more easy to wash off, and something that I'm not gonna have to really worry about. This is the difference to me between how smooth it feels right now versus tomorrow feeling like I'm already back to like a buzz cut. So I go in with this now. This, I just go in the same way that I actually applied the shaving cream. "99 times out of 100, if it feels smooth, it's going to look smooth. And what feels like it's clean is going to look the same way. So everywhere on my head feels the same. Whether it's in my thin areas or it's the places that my hair still grows really thick, I'm satisfied with that. There is a little bit right here. As advertised, this is my toner, witch hazel. If you want to use the same exact one that I use the Thayer's. This one is a witch hazel facial toner. What I have found with witch hazel is that I get all the benefits of the alcohol with none of the burn. And that's it for the scalp. This is all pretty much it. From here, I could do, whether I wanted to do something to moisturize the scalp, some kind of leave-in conditioner. Yes, even though your head is bald, you still want to condition the hair follicles and the scalp itself and not leave that totally dry. So you want to put something on your scalp. And it gives you one last chance while applying it. Serves two purposes. To see if there's any spots that feel not so smooth. It might need to want to touch up. here, I have a little spot here. And that is truly it. Until the next time we're cutting up, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next video. Now for the beard.